Jamie Plies, and I have Sifu Fu here. This is Sifu's Corner, where we address your questions as well as your comments. So if you have a question for Sifu that you haven't submitted already, you can do so below this video, or you can email us at support@entershaolin.com. So this question, Sifu, is from Steven. He asked, he basically wants to know the do's and don'ts of the bottom half of the body structure, like what angles do our feet need to be pointed at to stay rooted for Wing Chun, for example.
Okay, understand that you only have two legs. And when you have two legs, you will always have two sides strong and two sides weak. So if you stood in a horse stance, you can't be pushed left and right, but you can always be pushed forward and backwards. If you take a cat stance, you can't be pulled to the left, but you can be pulled to the right. You have your left leg forward. So understand that first thing is you're always going to have two sides strong and two sides weak. Okay, so the most important thing is we have to learn how to keep our weight down. So we want to create the root. Okay, and understand that when we have a root, okay, we want to put our weight there. The other leg that becomes empty is what we call the anchor or the force leg. Okay, a lot of people don't understand this, but if you have a stance, you're going to have your weight distributed to one side, and you want the other side to be empty. And the reason why we want to initiate that is because this way, when we feel force, we can anchor down our feet from that force, so we're not fighting. For example, if you put one leg in front of the other, right, where's your weight right now?
Most of it's back, on this back leg.
Okay, so if I pull your arm, don't let me pull you, okay? And we do this experiment, guys, I pull you, don't let me pull you. Where's your weight right now?
It's going more towards the front.
No, see, that's the misconception. Your weight is still there.
Yeah, most of it's here.
What you feel is your energy, your force, or what we call the anchor leg, versus the root leg. The anchor leg is not your weight, it's the energy that you use when you're connecting to the opponent.
Gotcha.
Okay? Because if we say this, let's put your weight towards your lead leg.
Okay.
Now, don't let me pull you.
Can't do it.
You can't stop.
Yeah.
See? Because your weight is here.
Right.
That allows you to sit. You use that as what we call the anchor, the force that's being driven. You could drive to the ground,
yeah, I feel what you're talking
but your
about.
weight is still
It's still there. Right. Okay,
That's
that
a
makes
common
sense.
misconception. So like an anchor, if it's dropped into the ground and there's no current pulling on the boat, the anchor's not used. It's only used when the current's pulling the boat, and then the force can be driven into the ground with it. And that's the same thing when you're taking your stance. Understand that when you're moving, you will always have a weight distribution force, and you have what we call the anchor force. Okay, and that's basically learning how to connect to someone's energy. And that's the same thing if I were to push you, you would put your weight forward, and as I push you, you drive the energy into the back leg. You wouldn't put your weight to the back leg, you keep your weight to the front leg.
That makes sense.
And you drive the energy that way. So this way, you can distribute the force and you don't let it affect your body. That's why strength won't matter if you know how to move the energy throughout your body. So this way, you're not straining your arms. Okay. The other important thing is keeping the root and keeping your connection right. Is knowing how to keep your structure, your upper body, over top your hips. Because your feet is no good if you create a slouch or a hunch.
Right.
Because now you're not distributing your weight over the top of your legs, you're actually falling off balance. Right. So the two most important things, even though you want to keep good control of your feet and how to do that, you got to understand your force, okay, which we'll call the anchor, and then the weight, or we call the root. Okay, so it's the root and anchor. The root is sinking, so you can learn how to move and drive and parry, absorb punches. And the drive from the anchor is so you can learn how to distribute his force so you don't feel the stress coming into your body. And that's how you get your legs to, but again, how can the legs connect the energy if the upper body's broken with the opponent? So it's very important to keep the upper body strong and learn how to distribute the energy from the opponent through the arms and drive it to the ground. So this way, you won't feel like you're straining to hold your structure. And if you want to move that energy that you feel on the ground with your anchor, you can use it to spring into, to snap at the opponent, to drive the energy back to them without having to fight. So very important, like I said, is you got to find the weight distribution down between what we call the root and the anchor. And the other important part is making sure your shoulders sit above your hips, so you're not slouching where you're sending your energy into your body. You want to send it into the ground, so your body has to be upright. But
so you don't want to be slouching.
So they call it highest heaven, lowest earth. Right. Highest heaven means your structure should be upright, but lowest earth means to sink everything to the ground while being upright.
Right.
So like a tree, it roots itself to the floor, but it stretches to the sky. And that's what your body and your hands have to do, but you have to learn how to root it to the ground when you're connected to someone's energy. So it doesn't become a fight. You learn how to distribute through force, so it doesn't become a strain for you to have to hold your stance or struggle because you're collapsing. So you learn how to distribute that energy right. So from a cat stance, you can move forward and backwards with it and adjust the pressure that way. So like I said, remember to find your root and anchor, right? Okay, and you have to learn to keep your body structure. That's how you can work your foot, because foot by itself is no good if the upper body is collapsing, no matter how good you stand. The upper body must be properly aligned, and you must learn how to sink your weight down and learn how to find your anchor in it.
And that makes a whole lot of sense. I knew about the rooted part, but I didn't know about the anchor. So I'm glad, Stephen, you asked this question because that helps me understand.
Yeah, I did
more.
that because most people I've ever done it, no
Yeah.
one's ever said when I told me that their weight was
Right,
wrong.
I had no idea. Yeah, you
they
think
say
you
it goes
fell,
towards the
but
lead leg
obviously
because
it's not, because like
it's
you said, I
not.
would have fell over.
Because I told you to put your weight towards your lead leg, you see you couldn't even hold it.
Right.
And that's the same thing we push. You would put your weight towards your lead leg and anchor your back and drive the energy down when I push you. But if you put your weight in your rear leg, if I push you, you'd fall backwards.
Can we give them another little tip? Like, how can they apply this, practicing the root and the anchor just on everyday basis? Like, I know that when I'm standing in the grocery line, because Larry told me to do this, is practice sitting back on my back leg, and I'll switch it, like if I'm, for a while. Is there any other things that they could do on a regular basis to kind of enforce rooting themselves?
Okay, one of the things I always tell my students, like, a lot of times they practice, they're like, I practice for hours, I feel like I do it right, but when I practice with you, I'm always doing it wrong. I tell them, watch what you do during your day, because an example is like, if you have keys on a table, are you leaning over to grab it?
Right.
Or are you stepping forward and sinking down to get in it? So
that's true.
You gotta pay attention to your daily life. Because
like when you go to get something out of the fridge, are you leaning
over? Right, because
or...
now you're enforcing bad habits.
Right.
So you gotta pay attention to what you do in your daily life that you may not realize, but you're doing it wrong out of force of habit.
Yeah.
And so you gotta be conscious of it. Like my training, my last thing that I had to learn to get down was relaxing my shoulders.
Me too. I have that problem. I'm working on it.
And this sounds funny, but every time I had to go to the bathroom, I would realize, oh, my shoulders up. I had to relax my shoulders. Yeah. And that was one of the things, the last things I remember constantly training. Say, oh, I can see my shoulders are going when I go to the bathroom. And then I had to, I got to
relax.
And you pee better.
I noticed first thing in the morning, my shoulders are very, very tense. I have to force them down.
Yeah. So you got to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
The principles that we teach is what you want to keep all the time. Principles is for your daily life. It's your structures, how your energy flows. It's how you move with it. So highs, heaven, lows, earth is that one basic principle that you want to keep all the time.
On a regular basis. Yeah.
Like you look at models, they're
right.
taught. They have a certain walk because it not only allows you to move better, but it projects a certain energy that people can see. Someone walks in and like, hey, what's up? You think, what a dork. It's because of his posture. He may not have to say a word, but just how he comes in, people can read that.
He looks insecure.
Versus the guy who stands tall, right, and just comes in. It's like, ooh, that guy's got his act together. And you may not have to say a word, but you just get that vibe.
Right.
Why is that? It's because how he holds himself, the projection of energy he produces out by his structure, just by his posture. That says a lot. So understand, just keep those rules: highs, heaven, lows, earth. Understand how to connect your energy, and to the earth. We get our power from the earth. That's how we move. That's how we strike. That's how we deflect energy. It's from the earth. It's not just here, because imagine I'm floating in space and someone punching me. I can float back and I don't have a root.
Right.
So you need the earth to generate your power and all that. So that's why it's important to have lowest earth. But you have to have highest heaven, so you don't drive everything into the ground. You need to have structure to be able to thwart off a pressure and everything like that. Without structure, you'll collapse.
Right.
So you have to have that for highest heaven.
Makes sense. All right,
Okay.
Stephen, I hope we addressed your question, and if you want some more clarification or just give us a thumbs up on it, we'd greatly appreciate your feedback on that. And for those of you that have been watching this, let us know what you like about it, if there's something else that you have a question about, and if you haven't gotten our free 5-day video course, as well as our ebook, there's a link below this, as well at the end of this video that you'll be able to check it out. All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.